All right, so we're recording this right after Game 3 of the NBA Finals, and it looks like the duck boats will be coming out in Boston possibly by as early as Tuesday. Banner 18 is going to be raised in the Garden. Seas win 106-99. Um, Almost blew that game after being up as 21 in the fourth quarter, which is this NBA is so crazy to me. Like these leads go by like that, and I was like, oh, this might be a little. They might blow this game. Then of course the controversial call with Luka, the sixth foul. I don't know, but I want to get your thoughts right now on how are you feeling right now as a C's fan that your team is up 3 games in the NBA Finals.
It feels great. It wasn't pretty. It looked pretty in the third quarter, and everything was going right. And it was like, okay, this is a cakewalk. We're off and running. We're up 15 to end the third. In the fourth, we get up 21 points, 91-70, and I'm like, we are good. This is over. And then from 10 minutes to 6 minutes, 4 minutes of action, the Mavericks go on a 20-2 run and cut it to within what, 6? And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, no, do not blow this game. So happy that the Celtics pulled it out. Jaylen Brown had a big second half. Jason Tatum had a big first half. The defense from Holiday and Derek White at times, and Xavier Tillman and Hauser off the bench. Cannot speak enough about those guys, man. They paid dividends. They paid their dues without KP. But it just feels great, man, to be one win away.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I think that they are just showing right now why they have been the best team all season. These last 2 games, the variety of ways they can beat you. They don't have to be like how they were in game 1, where on fire essentially from the jump. They
Yeah,
can stick around, pick their spots. They have so many contributions from everybody on the team. Hauser and Prince, I thought, were great on defense today, especially they're not great defenders, but they're going to fight and work. Boston's going to let them not switch, let them go one-on-one with the likes of Luka and Kyrie. I thought they held their own today. Tillman hit his first 3 of the playoffs, I think, in the corner. I'm just like, okay, this is crazy right now.
I remember when the Celtics traded for Tillman. I was like, if anybody watched the last year's series when he was with the Memphis Grizzlies and he played the Lakers, I'm like, he had some big games. So he's used to big games and filling in the role when somebody's out. He had some good defensive plays on Luka. Hauser had some good defensive plays on Luka. Pritchard was fighting all night. So we got the bench production that people were questioning about the Celtics all year. Like, we need to see something from them. Maybe not the point production that we thought we would have got, like from like you see other benches doing, like Indiana, et cetera, et cetera. But they played well. They played well in their roles tonight and paid dividends.
Yeah, man, it was just like, yeah, okay, so this is what it's gonna be. Um, it's kind of funny. Like it looks like Jalen Brown, I thought, was the best player on the court.
Mm-hmm.
I think tonight for me on both ends of the court, especially in the third quarter when he picked it up. If the series were to end today, right, who would be the MVP of the series? Because I think after like game 2, you say it could be 3 people, maybe Drew, maybe JT with his buckets and rebounds. I mean his assists and rebounds, and then Jalen Brown, of course. I would think right now the scale would tip in the favor of Jalen Brown if the series was to end today
Yeah, because
after this performance.
yeah, because after game was 1 and 2, Drew Holiday made a great case, right? With his defense on Kyrie. Kyrie was shooting poorly. And the game 2 that he had, just scoring 26 points, 11 rebounds from his position, where plays are not drawn up for him, you would say, in his production. But Jaylen Brown has been the most consistent overall throughout the series, especially shooting the ball. Jason Tatum hasn't shot the ball well, which has been a gripe amongst people who are complaining. But I'll say Jaylen Brown.
Relatively well tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
Relatively well.
Yeah. In the first half, he was on, and I was like, okay, if he's making these shots right now, okay, we're in a good position, and we were.
But down the stretch, he's like I think it's like 1 of 5 down the stretch.
Yeah, he was
in
one
the
of
fourth.
5 down the stretch, and just it can't. When the Celtics slow down, that's when you can get back in the game. If they start slowing down and making errors and stuff like that, and forcing shots, that's what we saw in the fourth. But overall, in the first quarter, he had 13, he had 7, he had 20 at the half. So he played great in the first half. But Jaylen Brown really pushed that lead up with Derek White. Derek White was also awesome in that second half. So got to give kudos to those guys, man. Got to give kudos to those guys. But yeah, I'll lean Jaylen Brown right now. I feel like he's been the most consistent. He has those transformation plays, those transition plays, where it just transforms the direction of the game. It looks like that big dunk, those good mid range shots. He's been playing well, so I'll lean towards giving it towards him.
Yeah, I would think I've had put money on it. He's going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the closeout game, whenever it is,
Mm-hmm.
she's going to be relatively big in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would overall lead him to get that award. And you're going to see the media trying to like cause some drama, create some type of drama of who's the best player in the Celtics now? Is JT happy for Jaylen Brown winning this Finals MVP award after winning the Eastern Finals? And Celtics fans are like, we don't care, we just want another ring.
I don't. That narrative is so weird to me because it's like people are like, "Oh, well, they don't like each other." I'm like, "Well, we don't have any proof of them not liking each other. It's just insinuated because these two stars on this team are pushing, and then people have been saying, hey, they can't coexist. Coexist. They've been to the finals. I mean, if you get to the finals, you can coexist. As bad as Shaq and Kobe were with their off the court problems, on the court they got to the finals. So whatever situation they have behind the scenes that we don't know about, if it's bad or if it's not or whatever the case may be, I don't feel that way. But it's like, who cares at this point? Who's in my eyes, it's Jason Tatum, just because he's drawing the more attention on defense and he's making the plays, whatever the case may be. But Jaylen Brown, I'm not going to fault him for picking up the slack and playing well. I can't fault him for that. Like, we can't. It's not one versus the other, but it's like the media is going to play it that way. But the Celtics up 3-0, man. I don't care who wins Finals MVP. It's whatever. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that in the offseason when we're looking at legacies and looking at breakdowns and stuff like that, and what this does for Jaylen Brown if he wins Finals MVP.
Okay, I mean, but you can see why the media does it. They love to cause drama, love a good story to
Oh
run
no,
off of,
you gotta create some. You gotta create something, right?
and then and then of course there's the two different approaches to the game. JT's more laid back, JB's more aggressive, so their contrast in that sense
Yeah,
is something that
they're totally
sparks
different.
up the conversation as well.
They're
But the
totally
total
different.
two different approaches to the game. If you're the Dallas Mavericks, though, man, it's tough. No KP tonight. You come out aggressive. It's looking good, but they just can't really contain the basketball, which eventually leads to the barrage of threes coming the Celtics' ways. I think that's what's really tipping the series in the season's favor. Because because no one should be surprised that they played this well without KP. He's missed.
Mhm.
He had to miss at least like 20 games this season, right? At least 20.
I think
I
I
think.
think I think they're 30-5 without him. Well,
Okay,
31,
so
31-5 tonight without him on the season.
they're accustomed. This score has been around forever. They still have the spacing even without him. Not to the
Mhm.
depth with
Yeah,
KP as opposed to Al Horford, but you still gotta respect Al Horford from three. So they're still there. They have everything that they had in place for this last several years. So you shouldn't be shocked. But damn, if you couldn't even get this game, I don't know what that does to the psyche of the Mavs. Because you know what I'm starting to think right now. Because I did pick the Mavs in six.
Mhm.
Clearly I was wrong.
hey,
Um,
hey, there's still hope. Dude.
nah.
Come on,
So my man,
man.
so my man who's a Celtics fan too just texted me and said Mavs are 9. I was like, yeah, shut up. So I'll go to say this, right? I mentioned it on this pod before with you. I think series come down to styles, and I think that this is a bad matchup for the Mavs after watching these first 3 games. Because whereas in the last series, now Indiana I don't think is better than Dallas, but they're a better matchup with the Celtics in the sense that the ball doesn't stick, they play up and down, they're constantly moving, man ball movement.
Mhm.
Boston, this Dallas offense is too stationary, heavy ISO, um, reliable on Kyrie and Luca. And I think a defense like Boston, you're just playing into their traps.
Yeah.
I thought that those two alone would be able to trump that, and clearly I'm wrong.
I mean, I think we said it even after game 2. I think we talked and I was like, they have to play faster. That's the way that they're going to be able. Because if you allow that Boston defense to set up again and again and again, you're playing into their hands because they're able to switch. They're able to get guys in the right position and set up and know where you're coming from. Like, it's the NBA Finals. People know, the teams know each other's plays. They know where they're going. So if you allow Boston, the better defensive team, to set up, that's an advantage for Boston. Bob Myers said it at halftime. He was like, hey, I think they got to play faster. Charles Barkley says it all the time with ISO heavy teams. He's like, even though they're ISO, you got to play faster and get into your sets more in transition. Anytime you get in transition, keep pushing the ball. And when Dallas slows the ball up, Luka carries it up, Kyrie carries it up. It slows down the game. Those guys athletically can't get involved in the game. PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., um, Hardy. I can't remember Hardy on the bench and stuff like that. Those guys are athletic. You get going up and down the court. Josh Green is athletic. You get up and going down the court. Those create easy baskets for those guys and get them involved in the game. But when they sit in there dribbling the ball up against the Celtics defense, those opportunities aren't there. They're far and few between. Obviously, KP being out created some easy baskets. I think I didn't look at the number, but I think the Mavs had over 50 points in the paint. It's like those are your advantages, but if he's not there, you got to play faster and be able to create more of those opportunities. And Dallas, when they're bringing that ball up the court, it slows down. It slows down.
Yeah, man. And then I thought that they didn't really get enough contributions from the others. Lively was solid tonight. PJ Washington came on late when they were trying to make that comeback, but I thought that like he was critical for them to win this game tonight, especially after seeing what Luka and Kyrie. Man, Luka did have 27 points on 27 shots.
Yeah,
But still, 27-27. Kyrie had 35. I knew Kyrie was gonna have a big game today because I was like, he can't play bad 3 games in a row. So he did his part.
You can't.
But like they tried put like we talked about him, J Kidd and certain Tim Hardaway in this series, and he was really a non-factor. He's someone who can get streaky, who can get hot, but wasn't tonight.
He had a couple good looks and he missed them. So that didn't help the Dallas Mavericks at all. But I just thought, again, like we talked before Game 3, I was like, Kyrie and Luka have to be aggressive. They were. And unfortunately, they just didn't have the support around them down the line. They didn't have the support really. They didn't have an extra boost there for scoring. But I thought the difference in the game was just Celtics attacking Luka. And I thought that was a big thing when Brown got it going in the second half. Tatum got it going in the second half. I can't remember how many Brown and Tatum had in the third quarter. But they were cooking, and they were just attacking and feeding off the extra help that Dallas was throwing off of for Luka to help him. But I felt like that was the difference in the game. And I've said this before a lot of times. I feel like Luka plays like James Harden. Like, you can attack him defensively. Like, he's not going to stop you. So if you attack him, you're going to be able to create easy mismatches, easy opportunities. And the Celtics did that in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Stan Van Gundy brought up when they were closing out the Wolves in Game 5. Hey, like, next series coming up, Luka can't hide. There's nowhere to hide. He I can have to play defense. Now, I seen that clip going around on social media, like, of the clips of, like Tatum and Tatum and Brown, like blowing by Luka in Game 2, him giving no effort. And I think I heard Tim Legler mention that, you know what, he probably just doesn't want to get in foul trouble, trying to avoid picking up or like knick-knack fouls and getting in foul trouble. Okay, now he's being aggressive. He fouls out. He probably just should let them blow by him. He probably just should let them blow by him and try to pick their pockets from behind. I don't know.
I don't. It's just he's not. We've seen this in basketball. Like that, there's guys that are just not favorable on the defensive end. Like, everybody thinks of Magic Johnson in Showtime. Like, he wasn't great defensively. He got steals, but you can blow by him. Like, you can get by Magic Johnson if you wanted to. So guys historically have not been great on that end. And again, as you just said, it's just a bad matchup because there's nowhere you can hide him. Like, you put Hauser in the game, Hauser can run off a screen and get Luka in the screen, get him lost, create a mismatch. Like, you put Tillman in, he can do certain things. Like, there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide. Like, I saw, like, when he was trying to guard Pritchard up the court, and Pritchard just blows right by him in the backcourt when he tried to pressure him and got up the court. And it's like, he can't. He just, and he's not 100%. I don't, like, we heard about the injections he's getting before the game and stuff like that. It's like, he's not 100%. So it's like, he's a one-legged man in the ass-kicking contest on defense. Offensively, he's going to get his shots. He's going to power his way. He's going to strength. He can slow it down. But defensively, where he gets sped up and people can blow right by him, he can't cover. He can't cover.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want him to do? You defense or offense? I think you want him to score, right? So just let him relax on defense and just let him save his energy for offense. He kind of got me upset tonight, man. I mean, I know Luke has been notorious of complaining to the refs, and he's done that. He's calmed it down, I think, for these players, but I think that he's letting the emotion get the best of him tonight. Yeah, just like everything, like he was falling on the floor, and then Boston's getting out in transition. I'm like, come on, man, that's ridiculous. But to be fair, I think the refs were they were letting a lot of things fly tonight. That's like, whoa, that's a foul. Like, the refs, both ways, I think.
The refs are just bad. It's okay to say, like, they're just bad. Like, even stuff for Dallas, I'm like, okay, that's a foul. Stuff for Boston, like, they missed a dunk when he got in on his hand.
Oh, Tatum got fouled. That was egregious.
That was a foul. Tatum fouled him on the other end when Luka put the shot and it went over the hoop. He got fouled on that one. It's like the referees don't know, and I'm fine with the physicality, but then they pick and choose these little knick-knack fouls, and it's like there's no consistency. Even if they try to let them play, they can't find a consistency. They can't. And I understand it's hard. It's the highest level of basketball. You don't want to foul out the stars and stuff like that and get guys in foul trouble and take away from the game. But it's like you guys end up doing it with trying to make up calls or just blatantly missing calls. It's like there's no consistency, and I don't know how they fix that. But it's just like I don't know, man. But yeah, Luka's complaining to the refs. It's been something that has been happening. And I said tonight, I was like, Draymond Green couldn't get away with stuff and the stuff Luka's doing. He couldn't. If he was,
What do you mean?
in terms of just yelling at the refs, complaining to the refs,
Oh, okay.
slapping, like he would not be able to get away with that. And Luka's a great player and stuff like that. But that's one of the things that throughout the season, I think he's only had 3 techs in the offseason. So I mean, in the postseason, so he's keeping it to a minimum. But it's like tonight it flared up. Maybe that was just his competitive fire and wanting to win the game, but it looked bad.
Yeah, you can sense the frustration with him. I don't know where they go. I think we know who the better team is. Clearly, 3 games into these finals, I don't know. There's no other chess pieces that Jason Kidd can bring to the table. It's kind of handicapped here.
Those guys for the Dallas Mavericks have to contribute, and they got what was it tonight? They got 13 out of PJ, 9 in the fourth. They had a double from Lively, but outside of that, Gafford only 6 points, Josh Green only 3 points, Derek Jones only 2 points, Dante Exum had 2 points. I'm disappointed in what Kleba did for them. There was a point where
goodness,
he had an open shot and he passed it, and it's like, yo, you're a shooter, you're there to stretch the floor, and you're not shooting. And then I think later in the game, Boston just left him open, like he's not going to shoot it. And it's crazy because it's like they really depended on him in the past. I know he was hurt and out, but they really depended on Maxi Kleber in past series, especially those the bubble, the years coming out. They had to run to the Western Conference Finals. He was playing heavy minutes for them, and for him to just be out of the rotation. And kind of be gun shy out there. Him and Hardaway Jr. really not helping that. They both scored 0 tonight, so they didn't contribute. And that's the one thing we talked about going into Game 3. If those guys are able to shoot the ball a little bit, it opens things up. But no dice for the Dallas Mavericks, man. I don't know. Especially when you get a game from Kyrie and Luka where they both played well offensively. It's like they kind of needed, like, those guys did everything they needed to do. I don't know what else those guys can do to alleviate the stress for the other guys. I don't know what else they can do.
Yeah, man. And yeah, Kleber, you talked about it. Ever since he came back from the shoulder injury he suffered against the Clippers, he's been like, even like Game 5 in Minnesota, he was real hesitant out there. I think he came back in Game 4 actually, but he's been real hesitant. I mean, he had time passing up a wide open shot, like in the past, like you're talking about, you're a shooter, shoot the basketball. Like you got to alleviate some of this burden that your superstars have.
They showed Luka on the bench, and he was like, "Yo, shoot it," because they need his shooting. They need that, and he wasn't able to provide it. And it's unfortunate for Dallas, man, because. They did battle back. They did. First of all, the first half for Dallas, and Stephen A. Smith said it at halftime as well. He was like, "You're only up 1, but you guys played so well, and you're only up 1. That's
not a good sign, never.
That's got to be demoralizing." And we saw it happen in the third quarter. What happened in the third quarter? But Dallas was able to battle back because Boston slowed down, and they gave themselves a shot. But Boston pulled it out, man. I'm just happy that Boston's up 3-0, man. Sucks for Dallas, man. Hey, man. Nobody cried for us when we were losing, man.
Yeah, man.
Nobody cried.
I just didn't see a world where they would be able to take away the Boston, take away the corner threes, and erase the lob threat that they have with Gafford and Lively. I couldn't. I would never have predicted this would happen. Like, this is crazy because those guys have been so like key to them throughout this whole entire playoff run, and now they are virtually non-existent in that aspect of the game.
Like Gafford had a good first quarter. Like he scored a couple points. He had a good rebound. I thought he had good energy, but they haven't explored that. And Boston has taken away keeping a body on the screener, keeping a body on the big man, Gafford and Lively. But it's like I would try to exploit that all the time and just try to get something. If those guys got to take 10 free throws a game, getting fouled on closeouts from those guys, I would try to exploit that and get some guys in foul trouble and then get to the rotation of the Boston Celtics. But Boston has been able to take away the threes from Dallas, have been able to take away the lob threat, and that's a big part of Dallas's offense because I think we've talked that Dallas. I don't think they've scored over 100 this series, right? So they
Damn,
have
they haven't.
they haven't. So like again, that's the thing. It's like this team was so potent against Minnesota because they were able to find those mismatches. There's really not those mismatches to the degree with the Boston Celtics. So it's like you
No.
have to get production from shooting, and they just don't have it. They haven't scored over 100 points. So it's like that's something that's not going to work in your favor, and you're giving up 100 points. So you're not going to win that way.
Okay. So if you're Boston, I kind of feel like if you were to blow game five, my guess would be only because you want to celebrate the championship in your building at the Garden.
Yeah, yeah.
On game six, I think, which would be scheduled for Monday, because I don't see. Well, but at the same time, I can't really see Kyrie and Luka getting swept in a series. That's just crazy to me. Those two
I
who can go for at least 60 combined.
they went for
57?
50.
Oh no, more than 60. I think 35 and 27.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
math?
62. They went for 62
Oh,
and one.
okay.
So like I think Boston gets it done in game 4, man, because it's like those guys play their best and it's not going to be enough. We've seen it over 3 games. It's not going to be enough. Like that's the scary thing if you're Dallas. It's like, yo, our both guys scored 62 points and it's not going to be enough. And I think that's the most demoralizing thing for Dallas because they had a good first half from those two. You got the production from those stars that you wanted. Kyrie was hitting crazy threes, off balance threes and stuff like that, and hitting layups and stuff like that.
And attacking the rim early, being aggressive.
And again, KP
Like,
not being there, that opened up the paint for the Dallas Mavericks, and they were taking advantage of it. And it's just like you guys couldn't put it away. And it's like I don't see. Maybe there's some win-win for the Gipper. Like let's go out and have some pride. It's like nah, I don't see it because it's like even if they play their best, I don't know if it's going to be enough. And you don't know if those guys are going to show up. That's the thing in the series. Like they're depending on Gafford.
you talking about the others?
Yeah. Like Gafford,
Yeah.
like Gafford and Lively are doing what they can. PJ Washington has contributed some points, but it's like it's not enough to offset the Boston shooting and what Boston can do with the versatility on both sides of the ball. So I don't see if Boston just get it done. I don't see Dallas even at their best. I don't think they can. At this point. I don't think they can steal it. It's too demoralizing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? You're now persuading me that they probably will try to come up with the mentality that we have to win this game on Friday because flashback last season, Eastern Conference Finals, Boston's down 0-3, come back, force a game 7. JT sprains his ankle, with the first offensive play of the game. So it's like, you know what? We've been here before. We're knocking on the door. We are one game away. Anything can happen with an injury, a sprained ankle, I don't know, a separated shoulder, knock on wood. So let's not play around. Let's get it done. So they possibly will have that mentality.
Yeah, I understand what people are saying, like, yo, like have it winning on your home floor, have the fans. I understand that. I would love that. But Dallas has to be in charge of that. Dallas has to play well enough to make that happen. And in the first 3 games, they haven't happened. And most likely when you're up 3-0, it's done. It's done. So it is what it is.
Man.
I don't see Boston playing around. There's no need to. You can win this. You can win the series. You just won a series with Sam Hauser and Tillman playing big minutes. Go win the series. Go win the series, man. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, man. It's real demoralizing, man, for the Mavs. The fact that you made these offseason moves, acquisitions with like getting Gafford and Lively, Gafford and PJ Washington, drafted Derek Lively, a gem. Still needs to do work, but obviously a gem for a rookie. Because next season, because honestly, I don't think that they were the best team in the West. I still believe that Denver should be in the finals. I don't know how the hell they lost to Minnesota, but it is what it is. So the West is gonna be a gauntlet next year. Whereas the Celtics, they can possibly win a championship again next season, or 2 and 3 years. Who knows? 3 and 4 years, maybe. Who knows? So they had that ability to do that just because of their team, the youth on their team, the experience they have. Playing in a weaker conference always helps. So yeah, it just sucks to be a Mavs fan right now, I think.
Yeah, it is demoralizing because you had those highs from Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington playing as great as they did over the course of the playoffs. And you're just thinking, hey, they're going to be able to contribute and help Luka and Kyrie. And we have 3 games where they had opportunities. And game 2 was close. Game 3 was close. Tonight's game was close, even early on.
And ended up being close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
early on it was close, and then later on. So they've been up in the series. They've had moments of success in finding things that work, but it's just like you guys lose those opportunities, those little detail things with Luka on defense, not recovering on defense, just a hole in their defense pretty much is because I thought at times their defenses played pretty well, and it's like okay they're holding up.
Who, Dallas?
Yes, Dallas.
Okay.
They've gotten stops and made some runs, and it's like okay, they at least give themselves a chance in some of these games, and it's like outside the first game, I felt like they've been in these games, and it's just like it's just a mishap, like that third quarter happened tonight, and it just opened up the game for the Celtics because the game was within one, so it's like looking from that edge, you gotta if I'm Dallas, you just gotta look for more scoring in the offseason, and because you have a good foundation, you have Luka, you have Kyrie, you have PJ Washington, you have some guys there. You just gotta find some more offense. Maybe that's the development of some of their lower guys. Maybe they can make a trade. I don't know who. I don't know if Tim Hardaway Jr. helped his trade value. I don't know if he.
Oh my goodness, no way.
So that's going to be difficult to move. But it's just like they got to find some offense. But they have to be at least feeling good at what they were able to do to get PJ Washington, to get Daniel Jones Jr. on a small contract, get Gafford. So you have some type of foundation moving forward, whereas at the end of last season, you didn't know which way was up. You just hoped that you made a pick in the draft. It panned out. But last season, there were questions about Luka. There was questions about Kyrie. Like now there's a little bit more foundation for them at least to build on in the West. Now the West is going to get better, but they have something. They have one of the best players. They have the top, two player in the game right now. They have one of the versatile scorers of all time. And just build on that. So they have something.
Yeah, man. I mean, but I think that this team was really built around the strengths of Luka and Kyrie because they're both heavy ISO players. So they got guys who are, who don't need the ball in their hands. They spot up shooters, defenders. I thought they would do a better job of contending the 3-point line, but I think it's really just the initial point of attack where they're letting them get to the rack with no problem, which is going to lead to the initial reaction to help, which leads to the ball moving around to the 3-point line and getting good looks or great looks from the Celtics. So
yeah, I don't know how do you Luka and Kyrie. I'm not sure what they can give more defensively. I'm not sure. We've seen them for multiple years now. Luka hasn't played a look. He's throwing some effort in some series where he has a place where he can be hidden on and then
hide.
Hide and make steals and stuff like that, play the passing lanes and stuff like that, where it's easier for him to play defense. We know Kyrie's going to put up an initial fight, but if you put up enough resistance, you can get by him. I don't know where you fix that because I've seen backcourts that didn't have defense. The first thing that comes to mind is Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. As good as those guys were together, you can get by them. You can get hot. You can create mismatches on those two guys, and then we saw how that ended. I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but I don't know how you find defense for both of those guys. I don't know. They try to do it with the back line with Gafford and Lively, which those guys are good rim protectors and active on the boards, but once those guys get pulled out,
at the same time, they don't help your offense because they can't shoot.
So it's it's creating an issue, and that's something that they're going to have to try to figure out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know what their cap situation looks like or what moves they can make and everything to improve their team because they're probably going to need a real consistent third scorer. I think they're going to need
Jordan Clarkson. That's the name everybody passes around right now for off the bench scoring. So Jordan Clarkson can be an option.
He must have a friendly contract if his name getting passed around so much, and he is productive too.
Yeah,
that helps.
So I think that's probably an option that they can explore. That's probably the best option right now.
All right, so you have the Celtics winning on Friday.
Yes, win on Friday, Celtics. Don't give us no more scares. Just beat the Mavericks. that's the goal. Just beat the Mavericks. Don't make it more difficult than it needs to be. Just beat the Mavericks.
All right, man. I mean, I just can't see Luka and Kyrie getting swept. If they have any pride, they got to win at least one, man.
I remember when the '95 finals, Houston and Orlando. And Shaq and Penny were talking about, don't get swept. And it's like, nah, man. I've seen it for 3 games. I don't see a way they can win it. I don't, unless Boston just lays an egg and just shoots terribly, doesn't defend. That's the only way. But I don't. Boston should be good enough to get it done.
Well, we'll see. Boston Celtics one win away from the 18th championship. My guy, I do appreciate you for coming on the pod. Hey, I'm coming on your pod Friday, right after
Yep,
the game.
yep.
All right, we lit, man. I appreciate you.
No problem, man. Have a good one.
You too.